My name is Allie Novel. Human beings have a natural tendency to form opinions. One example of this is how police are portrayed to the public. Lately, police stories of violence in civilians have been rising, and media's coverage on this has increased immensely, causing the public to think negatively about officers, treatment of police to be different, and affecting how the police officers do their job. According to Chris Hall, author of an article by BBC.com, police officers that do the wrong thing seem to be getting all the media coverage. The good things that police do often go unnoticed and don't make the headlines, while controversial shootings seem to always make the headlines. Everything cops do that may not be perfect ends up in the media, says Police Chief Nick Valencia of Virginia. Officers are walking on eggshells because of how they are scrutinized in the media. Nobility and integrity is constantly being challenged by the media, followed by the public. According to Law Enforcement Today, police take seriously the news representations of them. Unfortunately, after a shooting or other serious event involving a civilian and a police officer, police can't release any information due to an internal review policy which doesn't allow them to release any information at all about the case until there's a well-developed review developed. The result of this is oftentimes stories that are very one-sided to the perspective of the grieving family members and friends of the victim. Protests and riots can often break out in defense of the civilians. One of the most famous cases pertaining to police and criminal violence, police and civilian violence, is the Michael Brown case in Ferguson, Missouri. This took place on August 19th of 2014, when a black man, Michael Brown, was shot by an officer, Darren Wilson. There was two different stories. Witnesses said that Michael Brown was running away from Officer Wilson, while the police review says that Brown was running at Wilson. Protests and media stories went on for months and months, offending officers' positions across the nation, according to Media Frenzy, Officer Safety Nightmare. Officer Darren Wilson was found not guilty in this case. Still, he has to live with it for the rest of his life, and he also decided to resign after this case. In August this year, a year and a day after Michael Brown's death, Michael Brown's good friend, Tyrone Harris Jr., was also shot by a policeman in Ferguson, Missouri. He fired at the policeman, and as a result, they fired back. The police that was the shooter in this case was also not found guilty. According to LA Times on police and the media, there's a huge problem between law enforcement and civilians, especially minorities in police. 38% of white Americans believe that police are doing a good job or an excellent job, while only 10% of African Americans believe this. Although 70% of African Americans do believe that they are doing a poor job of equal treatment. This illustration shows how many minorities may feel police treat them differently. The negative publicity is getting through to the police. According to CNN.com's article, Pistol Whip Detective, an officer in Birmingham, Alabama, was whipped and beat with his own weapon after a routine traffic stop. Officer decided to remain anonymous to the public, but he did comment, "A lot of officers are being too cautious. I hesitated because I didn't want to be in the media like I am right now." After the beating of the officer, bystanders took photos and posted them on social media, instead of helping the officer who was face down in a pool of blood. Some rose to defend the officer, but if the roles were reversed and the civilian was the one who was beaten, riots and outcries would have taken place. With all the negative media and public reactions, officers feel hesitant. They feel they can't do their job correctly, and they're constantly questioning how the media will spin it. They feel distrusted and underappreciated by the community. A powerful statement from Police Chief Magazine stated, "Police are not immune to the effects of media reports on their actions and actions of colleagues across the nation." This is a perfect example of how a police officer is feeling apprehensive about doing his job because he's worried about being negatively portrayed in the media by either social media from him posting from his phone or the media getting a hold of the video or photo and posting it in media on like CNN and Fox News. In order to get the public back to trusting officers, positive messages should outweigh the negative messages. An example of this comes from a BBC trending article, which discusses a public strategy to improve police image by posting positive images onto social media. An example of this would be a police officer helping a black woman change her tire. A man pulled over to take the photo, and he said if the police hadn't been so negatively into the media, he wouldn't have pulled over and he wouldn't have taken it nor posted it. Another example is with this white officer helped a black American across the finish line of a race when she was struggling and thought she couldn't finish. The state of Montana is testing this by implementing a new program to spread positivity to the public eye. They're launching stories of police helping and positives about police. They take surveys to show views of police from the public, but the police are shocked with how much support they actually have from the public. They continue to show overwhelming support in community. This allows police to see they are trusted and they are making a difference in their state. Montana hopes this idea spreads across America. In conclusion, police are negatively portrayed in the media, causing the public to think poorly about officers. This affects how they are treated and how they do their job. Getting more positivity into communities and media will allow police confidence to be restored. Public opinion needs to shine through media influence.